What happens when a secret built on denials finally collapses? After months of whispered rumors, late-night sightings, and careful lies, the truth about Yoona and Chae-min has finally surfaced, and it's far more explosive than anyone imagined. Hidden meetings, coded messages, and a scandal the industry tried to bury are now out in the open. Let's uncover what really happened, only on Red Carpet Revealed. The night Seoul stopped pretending was not a night of thunder or drama, it was one of quiet rain, soft enough to hide footsteps, heavy enough to wash secrets loose from the glitter. For months the city had whispered that something forbidden pulsed beneath the polished smiles of its brightest stars. But no one dared to name it. Tonight the rain did it for them. It started with a single photograph, a blur of color under a blue umbrella. Two silhouettes too close for colleagues. The girl in white, Yoona. Beloved across continents. Every director's first choice. Every brand's dream. The man beside her, Chae-min. The industry's new obsession. The rookie whose calm voice could steady any storm. Together they looked like every fan's fantasy and every manager's nightmare. Within an hour the picture had circled the globe. Within 2. Both their agencies had issued the same statement, terse, sterile, familiar. They are close acquaintances supporting each other as professionals. Please refrain from speculative comments. But speculation was already wildfire. Photo wasn't proof, it was provocation. And in K Entertainment, the difference was irrelevant. I was there that night. Though not as a fan. I had been following another story, corporate embezzlement in an entertainment conglomerate, when the message arrived on my encrypted line. If you want the truth, follow the blue umbrella. At first, I dismissed it. Then came another text. This one with coordinates that led to a small alley near Busan's film district. Time I reached the spot. Rain was already falling. Through the mist I saw them. 2 figures moving together beneath that blue dome, unaware of the world watching. The moment lasted maybe 3 seconds before a van door slammed and they were gone. But the lens had caught enough. The photographer who sold the picture to Seoul now would later claim he hadn't known who they were. I thought it was just another couple. Told me weeks later. Eyes darting to the recorder on the table. Then the editor called it a shot of the decade. By morning, the photo had fractured the internet. Some called it romantic. Others scandalous. Those of us who had seen the machine behind K-pop's perfection. It looked like something else entirely, the first crack in a wall built on silence. Rumors are Seoul's second language. They travel through salon chairs, cafe corners, staff elevators, and encrypted chatrooms where assistants trade secrets for survival. In the weeks that followed, the whispers coalesced into stories that Yoona and Chae-min had met on the set of a charity commercial. That they'd kept meeting long after the cameras left, that the chemistry everyone praised on screen had been too real to fake. Both stars kept working. Yoona appeared radiant at a fashion gala in Paris. Her smile so practiced it could cut glass. Chae-min flew to Thailand for a drama shoot. Giving interviews so polite they sounded mechanical. Their eyes never betrayed them, until the cameras stopped. A stylist who had worked with both later told me. You could feel it in the air. The way they looked at each other wasn't acting. It was dangerous because it was real. In an industry where contracts dictated curfews, diets, and even dating bans, real was the most dangerous word of all. The agencies fought back fast. Legal threats rained down on gossip pages, hashtags disappeared within minutes. When one entertainment blogger hinted at leaked CCTV footage, his account was suspended. Another journalist received a cease and desist order for merely mentioning the umbrella's color. It was as if the sky itself had been copyrighted. Censorship only fuels curiosity. Fans began dissecting every frame of variety show appearances. Comparing bracelets, rings, the reflection in a sunglass lens. They found patterns, too many to ignore. On a live broadcast, when asked his ideal type, Chae-min had smiled shyly and said, "Someone who laughs before she answers." That was exactly how Yoona laughed. Meanwhile, her agency released new photoshoots portraying her as the nation's unattainable muse. The timing was no coincidence, image is a currency. And they were trying to stabilize the market. Behind the scenes, though, panic was setting in. Advertisers demanded reassurance, production companies feared boycotts. In a leaked email from one executive, I read, "If this continues, both brands will lose 30% public trust metrics." Contain the narrative. Containment meant isolation. Yoona cancelled public appearances for health reasons. Chae-min's upcoming press tour was postponed. The two people at the center of the storm vanished, leaving only their silence to feed the noise. Weeks passed. I kept digging. I traced the photo's metadata, followed the money trail behind the anonymous account that had first uploaded it. The IP led to a PR subcontractor that, coincidentally, had just signed a major deal with a rival agency. Someone wanted this scandal. Someone powerful. When I confronted the subcontractor's manager, he smiled thinly. You think secrets leak by accident? In our world, even rumors are marketing campaigns. Still, one fact refused to fit: the photo looked too intimate. Too personal. Not staged, stolen. If this was a manufactured scandal, why did the picture feel like heartbreak instead of publicity? I found my answer in an unexpected place: a hotel employee in Da Nang, Vietnam. The man remembered two Korean guests staying under false names months before the scandal broke. They kept to themselves, he said. Always polite, always quiet. But you could tell, they were trying to be ordinary. He handed me a copy of the guest ledger. The initials matched. So did the handwriting on the signature line. Every revelation made the story larger, stranger. This wasn't just romance, it was rebellion against an entire system built on illusion. A senior producer confided that Yoona's contract contained a morality clause allowing her company to terminate her career if she engaged in any relationship deemed damaging to public image. In other words, love was breach of contract. As one insider put it, they sell fantasy, not humanity. Falling in love is the one thing you're not allowed to do. Late one night I received a voice message from an unknown number. The voice was low, deliberate, familiar. You're going to write about us. Write the truth. We never lied. We just didn't confess. I replayed it again and again. It could have been anyone, yet the cadence, the softness, it sounded like her. By midsummer, new photos surfaced. They weren't clear, just fragments: the corner of a cafe window, a reflection in a car mirror, two hands brushing near a park fence. Sleek reignited the frenzy. Headlines screamed Yoona and Chae-min again. Tabloids promised exclusive updates that contained nothing new. And in the noise, truth blurred with performance. That's when the second leak hit. A private security camera captured footage of two people entering an apartment complex at 1:47 a.m. She wore a mask and cap, he carried groceries. Date stamp placed it during the peak of their denial. Clip was uploaded to a gossip board and deleted within 5 minutes. But not before 1,000 screenshots spread. Analysts confirmed the car's license plate belonged to Lee Chae-min's manager. The agencies called it deepfake manipulation. Fans divided into believers and defenders. In between, justice and obsession collapsed. And yet, behind every digital roar, a heartbeat, a quiet, human truth trying to be heard. When the storm grew unbearable, Yoona posted a single message on her private account. Not everything you see was meant to be seen. It was deleted after 7 minutes. But in those 7 minutes, screenshots traveled faster than censorship. The caption carried no names. Denial, only exhaustion. It was the first crack in her silence. A week later, I met a makeup artist who had worked on Yoona's last commercial before her hiatus. She described a moment between takes when Yoona had stared at her reflection for too long. She said, "They want me to smile like I've never loved anyone. I don't know if I remember how." Then she laughed. But it wasn't a happy laugh. Autumn, sponsors had withdrawn. Production companies quietly replaced both actors in upcoming projects. The machine that once praised them for perfection now punished them for being human. Then came the breaking point: a second umbrella. Another set of photos, this time in daylight. In a park near the Han River. Same color, same closeness. But the tone was different. There was no secrecy in their posture. No fear in their faces. They looked free. For the first time, the agencies stayed silent. Statements, no denials. Just silence that felt almost like surrender. That night, Seoul glowed with screens replaying the same images over and over: the umbrella opening, their laughter under it, faint glint of sunlight on rain. Comment sections split into war zones: betrayal versus bravery, scandal versus sincerity. But amid the chaos, extraordinary happened. A hashtag began trending. Not censored but celebrated. Let them be happy. It was small at first, then unstoppable. Students painted blue umbrellas on walls. Fans replaced profile pictures with sketches of rain. Even rival celebrities posted cryptic blue emojis. The narrative had shifted from accusation to empathy. For the first time in months, the storm wasn't aimed at them. It was aimed at the system that made love a crime. Still, I couldn't shake one question: who leaked the first photo, and why? The trail led me back to the rival PR firm, whose CEO finally agreed to meet under strict anonymity. He spoke slowly, as if confessing to himself. "It wasn't about destroying them," he said. "It was about testing the public. If people could accept love between idols, we'd know the market was changing. We leaked it to measure tolerance." "Use them," I said. He shrugged. "Everyone uses everyone here. That's the business." When I asked if he regretted it, he looked away. "Regret? Maybe. But look around. The world finally sees them as human. Isn't that progress? Progress born from exploitation, a paradox only fame could invent. By winter, the story should have died. But truth, once awakened, doesn't sleep. One evening I returned to the same alley where it all began. Rain again, softer this time. A single blue umbrella lay collapsed by the curb, abandoned. I picked it up and noticed initials scratched faintly into the handle: Y&C, breathe. Whether it was coincidence or message, I'll never know. As I walked away, I realized the scandal had evolved into something larger, a mirror held up to an industry terrified of reflection. Yoona and Chae-min had vanished from schedules. Their absence filled every conversation. And in that absence, the truth they tried to hide was no longer shame, it was revolution. When the storm calmed, silence felt heavier than the noise. The hashtags faded, the media moved on. But something in the air of Seoul refused to settle. The faces on billboards changed. Idols rose to fill the vacuum. Yet people still whispered about the blue umbrella, as though it had become a symbol for something larger than two celebrities who dared to care for each other. Have ended there. But the truth has a strange habit: it lingers where it's least wanted. The first spark came from an unlikely source, a cleaner at a high-rise in Gangnam. He had found a discarded folder in a recycling bin marked confidential, Omega PR project. Inside were draft statements prepared months before the scandal erupted, including one predicting controlled exposure of Yoona and Chae-min relationship to gauge market sentiment. It was dated 2 weeks before the first photo surfaced. Janitor, a quiet man with no social media, handed the file to his niece, who was interning at a digital tabloid. Within hours, it reached me. The implication was clear: the scandal had been engineered. The document outlined a chilling strategy to manipulate public empathy by orchestrating a romance reveal between two compatible stars from rival agencies, in order to distract audiences from a corporate tax investigation into one of the entertainment conglomerates. Yoona and Chae-min's relationship was real. Their exposure was manufactured. Someone had turned their affection into a diversionary weapon. The file named the campaign director, a man known for his crisis conversion techniques, the art of turning scandal into profit. I tracked him down to a villa on Jeju Island. He was allegedly retired. He agreed to talk only if his voice was altered and his name kept off record. We needed something pure, he said over the phone. His tone calm, almost clinical. Something that would make the public forget corruption, politics, greed. Love sells. And nothing sells better than forbidden love. You used them, I said. They used us too, he replied. Got sympathy? They became immortal. Tell me, would you remember their last drama if not for the umbrella? I hung up before he could finish his lecture on mutually beneficial scandal economies. But the thought stuck with me. A world built on performance. Even exposure becomes performance. 2 months after the leak, stars were still missing from public life. Yoona's management claimed she was recovering overseas. Chae-min's agency released bland updates about new script considerations. But behind those polite phrases, their careers were frozen. Then, in mid-February, a journalist in London spotted a woman resembling Yoona entering a museum near Kensington Gardens. The photo was blurry, but her posture, scarf, unmistakable. 3 days later, another sighting in Amsterdam, a man thought to be Chae-min sketching on a park bench. Were they together? The media exploded again. Yet this time, no one condemned them. The tone had changed. They were no longer traitors to their image, survivors of it. The real twist came when a hacker collective calling themselves Mirror Leak dumped a series of emails allegedly exchanged between executives of both agencies. The messages detailed the entire cover-up, the planting of anonymous sources, the manipulation of trending algorithms, fabrication of public opinion polls showing disapproval to justify suspensions. The stars had been sacrificed to protect the corporate structure that owned them. Buried in those exchanges was one message sent from an internal account labeled LCM Private. The subject line read, "If you destroy her, destroy me too." It was signed, Lee Chae-min. The world fell silent again. For a few days, the internet turned reverent. Posts flooded with captions like "He chose love over fame." Artists and actors began sharing their own hidden relationships, turning confession into rebellion. The blue umbrella became a logo of freedom. But the agencies didn't see romance. They saw risk. Lawyers threatened lawsuits. Streaming platforms delayed projects indefinitely. One sponsor claimed morality breach and demanded damages. Backlash was legal, quiet, suffocating. And then, unexpectedly, email arrived in my inbox. The sender, Yoona. Official, @protonmail.com. An unverified address. But the message began with a line only she could have written. "You once said the truth lingers. Linger a little longer." Attached was a 5-minute video. The footage opened with Yoona sitting in a dimly lit room. No makeup, no script. "This isn't a confession," she began softly. "It's a translation, from silence to honesty." She spoke of exhaustion. Of the years spent pretending that privacy was selfish. Sincerity was dangerous. "They tell us to act grateful for the spotlight," she said. "They forget light also burns." Then her voice broke slightly. "Yes, we loved each other. Yes, we lied to protect it. But we never hurt anyone, except ourselves." And she looked straight into the lens and whispered, "If you ever meet someone worth losing everything for, hold the umbrella and don't look back." Ended. I sat there in silence. It wasn't just a statement, it was liberation recorded in real time. When I uploaded excerpts to an international newswire, viral in less than an hour. Fans wept. Others called it a career suicide note, but for once, the world saw her not as a goddess, as an idol, just a woman reclaiming her story. In 24 hours, a matching video appeared on another server. This time, it was Chae-min. Filmed in what looked like a small apartment, he said. "I was told to deny everything, even myself. But she taught me the truth doesn't destroy, it cleanses." He paused, then smiled faintly. "For months we hid under an umbrella because we were afraid of rain. But maybe the rain was never the enemy." Final line became a cultural quote overnight. Mugs, posters, protest signs, all bore the phrase, "The rain was never the enemy." The aftermath was unpredictable. Instead of fading into obscurity, their disappearance became mythology. Magazines began calling them the lovers who broke the algorithm. A director announced plans for a film inspired by their story. Politicians referenced them while discussing privacy laws. What began as scandal evolved into movement. Then, one spring morning, they returned. Press release, no staged photoshoot, just a candid image captured by a passerby in Florence. Yoona and Chae-min walking hand in hand across a bridge. No disguises. No umbrella this time. The picture spread faster than any tabloid exclusive. But instead of outrage, there was applause. And their harshest critics posted hearts. The world had finally changed, or perhaps it had simply remembered what humanity looked like. I met them only once after that. It was summer in Italy. Near a cafe by the Arno River. They arrived quietly. Without assistance. Without the armor of celebrity. Yoona looked freer than I had ever seen her. And carried a small camera. Still taking photos like a boy exploring the world for the first time. We talked for hours, about art, about silence. About what comes after fame. "No," Yoona said, stirring her espresso. "The scandal wasn't the worst thing that happened to us. It was the best disguise. It allowed us to disappear before we were erased." Chae-min laughed. "Sometimes the only way to survive the stage is to step off it." When I asked if they'd ever return to acting, he shook his head. "We've already played our greatest role, ourselves." Leaving, she handed me a folded note. Inside were 4 words, "Let them write rain." A year later, I published everything, every file, every email, every confession. The story was no longer about exposure, it was about evolution. Critics called it the most human scandal in K-entertainment history. Universities used it as a case study in media ethics. Agencies quietly settled their lawsuits. And the industry, though still polished, began to blink with something new behind the gloss: awareness. The blue umbrella remains locked in a museum display in Seoul now, under glass. Its fabric slightly faded. Plaque beneath it reads, "A symbol of what can't be hidden forever." Sometimes I visit. Tourists take selfies, unaware of the nights it survived, the terrors it shielded. I stand there and remember the rain that started everything, the whisper, the click of a shutter, the moment two people stopped pretending. And I think of her last words to me before they vanished for good. The truth isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of peace. Maybe that's what they found. Maybe that's all any of us are looking for. Because in the end, the scandal wasn't theirs. It was ours, a mirror held to a world that forgot love could still exist behind the spotlight. And now, at last, the truth has surfaced. Oh, as the lights fade and the world moves to its next obsession, the blue umbrella remains, quiet, unbroken, eternal. It no longer belongs to Yoona or Chae-min alone. It belongs to everyone who has ever hidden their truth beneath a storm. Everyone who dared to love in silence. And everyone who learned that honesty is the most dangerous kind of freedom. Their story began as a scandal. But it ended as a mirror, reflecting not fame, not shame, but the fragile beauty of being real in a world built on pretending. They were never villains, never saints. They were simply human. To every reader who followed this journey, who looked past the headlines and chose to feel rather than judge, thank you. To those who still believe love can survive the noise, your faith keeps stories like this alive. To the truth itself, relentless, imperfect, unstoppable, thank you for refusing to stay buried. Because sometimes, the greatest revelations aren't shouted from the stage. They fall softly, like rain. Red carpet revealed.